Hey folks, welcome to Whiskey Politics. It's been a while. Dave Sussman here at whiskeypolitics.net. And yes, we are still doing shows. It's been a couple of months since our last technical Whiskey Politics episode, and I'll explain why in just a moment. But we've got 3 interviews that are coming up today. And let me explain a little bit about what is going on. We've received a lot of messages, emails, and other questions from folks that are wondering, are you still doing interviews? And the question is yes. Okay, 2 things. Number 1. I do have a show that I'm doing every single day now. It is a 2-hour show called America's Voice Live. It is at America's Voice News, which is an alternative news site. You can find it on Roku. You can download America's Voice News. You can find it on Apple TV. You can download the app on your phone, on Android, on whatever it may be. And you can also find us at americasvoice.news. I'm a co-host with Amanda Head, and we talk news 2 hours every day, breaking news. We're playing a lot of video. We're talking about it. We've got incredible guests. We just had Art Laffer on today in a particular segment, and fascinating stuff. Whiskey Politics is also on America's Voice News Network. And because we are moving and migrating our studio from New York City over to Denver, it's delayed us getting back online with Whiskey Politics. So that should be taking place soon. We've got like 6 or 7 guests lined up. They're like airplanes waiting to land at the airport. So we should have that going fairly quickly and get back to podcasts and everything else. And appreciate your patience on that. In the meantime, for this episode, kind of keep the pot boiling a little bit. We've got 3 interviews lined up here. These are not technically Whiskey Politics interviews, but they are me, and it is on a radio show that I host. When I guest host, it's for Real Side Radio on the Salem Radio Network and GCN, 52 radio stations around the country. And last night we had Jon Gabriel. He's the editor-in-chief, ex-Jon, editor-in-chief at ricochet.com. And we're talking about impeachment palooza. And also, are the Never Trumpers starting to come around? We'll see. I don't know. We'll see what Jon has to say on that as well. We also have one of the most interesting candidates for Congress out of 43rd District, state of California, California 43. Yes, that is Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters District. Is she in trouble? Joe Collins is an African-American U.S. Navy veteran, conservative, grew up, lives in the district of Maxine Waters. And we're going to talk about why he believes that he has a shot at beating Impeach 45 Waters. Our third interview, and they're all about 18 minutes each. Our third interview is Larry Greenfield. This guy is fantastic. He's a former intelligence officer at the U.S. Navy, former founding executive director at the Reagan Legacy Foundation, also former fellow at the American Studies at the Claremont Institute, and studied at Georgetown University Law Center. We not only talk about impeachment, but also, remember there was an election a couple of weeks ago in Israel? What happened? Did Bibi Netanyahu go away? Is he going to be indicted? Or is he cobbling together some support to still maintain control in the Knesset? Let's talk about that. We're gonna have a good discussion on all of that because he gives us information and news that we're not seeing in the headlines. So enjoy, and please, yes, if you are not following us on Facebook, check us out, Whiskey Politics on Facebook. Also, you can find me at David Sussman on Twitter, and you can also check out America's Voice Live. It's a brand new Facebook page, just went up yesterday on Facebook, America's Voice Live, and you can find our content on there. It's also streaming, so you could see our news programs as well. Yeah, we're busy. So anyway, thanks for watching. And here's the first of 3 interviews. It's going to be Jon Gabriel. And we'll see you real soon again at Whiskey Politics. Cheers. And welcome back to the Real Side Radio with Dave Sussman in the chair here, Joe. And I got to tell you, I know that was a little bit of a rant the last couple of, but it's no reason to have a rant right now. There's nothing that should make me so upset and so angry. But maybe we can kind of pull it all apart and put it back together again with Jon Gabriel, who is the editor-in-chief at Ricochet.com. He is a contributor at Arizona Central and the undisputed king of stuff. How you doing, my good friend?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing really well. You know, I wanted to have you on because I read this article that you wrote, which is up at Ricochet.com, and you're talking about this fire hose of excrement, which is coming right now on everybody. And this is one of my biggest fears, John. First of all, talk about what you mean by this, and then we can go into the reasoning for it. What is this fire hose that you're referring to?
Well, it's just anybody who follows the news at all, and I was going to say I pity the people who don't follow it much, but I think I envy them a little bit. But if you need to follow the news and you're on social media, every day there's another quote-unquote blockbuster that's, boy, this is the end of Trump this time. And then about 2 hours later, it comes out that, oh, the story was wrong, there were errors, or at least there's mitigating circumstances. But by then, 2 more stories have dropped saying, this is the end. So it's just this fire hose of nonsense being sprayed in every direction by the media and their allies in Congress, the Democrats. And it's just spraying everywhere. And yes, it's hitting all Trump's people, but it's splashing back and hitting the accusers as well, because you have all these different news agencies who are just obviously, they loathe Trump. It's very obvious. They're throwing away any kind of journalistic integrity. And it's really blowing back hard on Biden and also now Adam Schiff.
One of the things I'm worried about is that there are a lot of good people in this country, and they may not be politically active or just as interested as you or I are. Unfortunately, and you said that, and I laughed because I'm the same way. I envy people that don't follow this on a certain level, because it is somewhat cancerous. I mean, the ups and the downs and the anger, and especially if you watch social media. I know you're prevalent on and prolific on Twitter, but I think this is by design, where this fire hose is being sprayed at the American public, that so many people are just tuning out and turning off. And at the end of the day, they come home, they're exhausted, they've been working 2 jobs, they just want to turn on Dancing with the Stars, and they might get 15 seconds of news on their local news. And it's really what the Democrat news networks have been saying all day anyway, and they don't look into it deep enough to really understand the complexities of this. Does that change the outlook for elections, do you think?
Yeah, I think it kind of depends. If you kind of tend to give Trump the benefit of the doubt of the Democrats, and the Democrats, you have no reason to give them the benefit of the doubt. They just wasted 3 years insisting that Trump was colluding with Russia. Now, without so much as an apology, they've immediately shifted to, no, Trump's been colluding with Russia's mortal enemy, Ukraine. Now let's impeach him for this. And I think a lot of people have tuned it out, and just this constant level of outrage. You know, the Democrats have been trying to impeach Trump since before he was even inaugurated. Chuck Schumer famously said December, before he even took office, that they were looking into impeachment already. This is just a semi-convenient excuse, but I think it's going to go the way of the Mueller report. It's going to blow up in their faces, and more we're seeing that Adam Schiff was in on this. He found out about the whistleblower complaint before it was even filed and coordinated with the whistleblower, just as many of us expected. But now it's really out in the open. So, I think a lot of Americans have tuned out, and the good news for Trump is the press and the Democrats. It's been the boy who cried wolf. They've been screaming, he's destroying our republic, he's finished any day now, the walls are closing in, all these various cliches they used. Yeah. And they've been saying it nonstop since he was running in the GOP primary. Boy, we've got him this time, and they never seem to get him.
Well, I think during the primary, you or I were believing that the walls were closing in and he was done. I think I wrote articles up on Ricochet after the McCain comment, winners don't get caught, or whatever that was, that it was finished. And we laughed about it. But here he is. And I know you are a Trump skeptic. I don't think you're full never Trump. I don't think you were.
No.
Right. But at the same time, I think you call good Trump, bad Trump, intellectually honest. And I know a lot of people at Ricochet do as well. Gabriel. But I also have seen somewhat of a change for those folks that are seeing that he is actually he is actually living up to the promises, unlike so many presidential candidates and politicians generally ever do. And from a conservative standpoint, holy cow, did you ever think that he was going to get the judicial nominees through and the tax reform through and the regulatory issues through and fighting on the border the way that he was? Do you think, no matter whether you like the man or not, that will lend itself well to a strong re-election chance next year?
Yeah, I think it will, and my evidence of this is the Kavanaugh hearing. That was something that really united Republicans, even, boy, a lot of never-Trumpers, they hate Trump, all they do is whine about him nonstop. But even they were appalled at how the naked partisanship on display from the Democrats on that. And you had people who weren't very politically active saying, okay, this is absolutely insane. And I think this Ukraine business fits right into it, because even if you think the call was questionable, and by questionable I mean, I wonder if he should have done that, not that he did anything guilty, but even if you are skeptical of it and go, boy, why is he talking to the Ukraine president about Biden? Does it rise to a level of impeachment? Of course not. If anything, the norms being violated are all coming from the Democrat side. They're just dying to impeach him. It doesn't matter what excuse they have, and they think this is their second bite of the apple after the Mueller report collapsed. And I don't think the American people are buying it. And I think a lot of conservatives more and more are thinking we're in a fight for survival here. It's the Democrats just... Let's be honest, if you're watching the Democratic debates, they despise, half the country, absolutely despise us. And that's going to raise people's hackles and say, hey, you don't get to tell us who we're allowed to vote for, what we're allowed to believe. Enough already.
Yeah, I think that they are turning off a lot more people than they're bringing into the party. And I want to talk with you after the break. We've got a few seconds here before our bottom of the hour break. But I want to talk to you about, what we're seeing right now from the standpoint of this information that's coming out regarding Schiff. He knew, as you just referred to, the whistleblower before he said he did, basically all the lies that are now starting to come out here and what is happening with Barr overseas, and this maybe a drop of information that's about to be dumped on the Democrats that they would never have expected. And I want to get your impressions on how that may actually impact first the impeachment hearings, if there's going to be impeachment hearings, and then what's going to happen with everything as we get into the actual full-blown campaign. So we've got Jon Gabriel. He's the editor-in-chief at Ricochet.com. Everybody needs to check out Ricochet.com. I get to write over there. Very fortunate, and it's a fantastic right-of-center site. And I greatly appreciate you taking the time. We'll be back after the break. Dave Sussman here at Real Side Radio. Don't go away, folks. Bottom of the hour. Welcome back to Real Side Radio. I'm Dave Sussman, and if you're not chatting with us on the Facebook room for Real Side, please get involved. There is a lot of action happening right now. People are chatting and venting, and it's a good place to be, and you can find that at realside.com. Of course, you can listen to us across the fruited plain. 52 stations now, right? GCN Network and Salem Radio Network as well, and you can always call in. We had a call last hour, 855-732-5563. But first, I'm delighted to be speaking with Jon Gabriel. Jon Gabriel is the editor-in-chief at one of my favorite websites. It is called Ricochet.com. It is a very civil place where you can talk politics, which is unlike most other places online today. Jon, I gotta first say this. You and I were just chatting during the break off air, and we both agree that this entire impeachment push is purely political. And one of the reasons that I know this is purely political is because I read a report today, I think you probably saw it as well, that Schiff says that he wants to push this thing through before Thanksgiving, 6 weeks. And so if you remember the last two impeachments, and I barely remember the last one in 98, I wasn't old enough to know what was going on in 73, but 73 took 8 months, and 98 Clinton took 5 months. They want to push this thing through in 6 weeks. Does America understand that this is purely just about branding the impeachment word on the president they hate?
Yeah, it really seems like most people will view it this way. In the past, you've had, it was before our time, but Watergate, what they did is say, okay, how can we convince over time, here we'll lay out the evidence, we'll convince some independents, we'll convince a few errant Republicans who might oppose Nixon at some point. And it was this methodical release of information. And Democrats now are just throwing everything to the wall at the exact same time. It's like their wall is covered in spaghetti, hoping one strand is able to stick. They aren't even trying to win people over. And based on their actions in the past and how shifty they've been with, they were talking about impeaching Kavanaugh a month ago, for crying out loud, and they forgot that quite quickly. But I think they are just trying to rush this through. I think also Pelosi wants to rush it through because she knows an election's coming up, and all these red state Democrats who eked out wins in their district, even though Trump won those districts in the past, they're nervous. They're extremely nervous, and they want this to be forgotten as soon as possible.
I spoke at a rally for congressional candidates on Saturday. I was very fortunate. I met with probably actually over a dozen congressional candidates, mostly throughout California. And Trump's social media guy, what's his name, Pascal? He suggested that they've got 12 seats in the bag. They need 18 to turn the House. They're actually going to start putting money into California races because of the vote harvesting that they did. That's illegal in North Carolina, by the way. That gave us a special election last month. But in California, it's completely legal, and we can go door to door and just grab votes. So you think that this is going to turn it basically on Democrats on their back, and do you think it could lose the House for them?
I think it definitely could. They're playing a very high-stakes game now, and for some reason they're constantly convinced that they're going to win the next election. Everybody's voting Democrat, and they will stay in power forever. And that's why they're changing the House rules to try to rush through this impeachment. They think they're never going to be out of control again. It's going to backfire on them, I believe, at this point. And that's the thing. Anything can happen. The news cycles change every day. But if you look at the fundraising figures for the GOP and for Trump, they are astronomical. It was something like, I can't remember the exact stats, but it was something like 4 times the amount that Obama made in the same part of the cycle. Trump has just taken in. So people are very motivated and very angry, especially when you have major Democratic presidential candidates just proposing taxes for everything, attacking Wall Street, and taking away everybody's guns and free speech and religious liberty, you name it. I think they're making a lot of people nervous, including people who might have wanted to vote for them if they had just remained semi-sane, or at least pretended to be sane.
Today, Trump campaign, Republican National Committee to report $125 million raised in the third quarter. By comparison, as you were just saying, Barack Obama and the DNC raised around $70 million in the same quarter before his re-election campaign. Trump nearly doubled that. Hillary Clinton, even with all her huge donors in 2016, didn't have numbers like this. So you're absolutely correct. Okay, one of my favorite podcasts features you and Stephen Miller. It is called The Conservatarians. Everybody can find that on iTunes and Ricochet and everywhere else you can download your podcasts. It's a fantastic podcast. It's just the two of you riffing. And Stephen Miller is with Fox News. He's all over the place as well. One of the things that you guys were talking about was that you're seeing even folks that are diehard never Trumpers, libertarians, other folks that are out there that are starting to come around. Talk a little bit about that, what you're seeing.
Yeah, well, we published an article from Richard Epstein. If you know anything about libertarian or conservative jurisprudence, he is this rock star law professor who, recommends candidates, that many of whom Trump has gotten through the nomination process. He was stridently anti-Trump, even as inauguration started. And he said he is outraged at the impeachment. He says it's ludicrous. There's no evidence for this. I've never seen anything like this. And he is the most passionate legal defender I've seen of Trump, and he's a guy who's beyond a Trump skeptic. An article was published today. John Podhoretz, many of your listeners might be familiar with him. He's the editor-in-chief of Commentary Magazine. Also, never Trump, I would have to put him in that position. He's saying his headline today is impeachment may have jumped the shark. He's saying this is ludicrous. So if they're losing people who are highly, highly skeptical of Trump, then they're losing all sorts of people, especially independents.
It's amazing to me that there's still such a thing as a never Trumper. I look at it like, that's still a thing, but because Trump, listen, you don't have to like the man. You don't have to agree with everything he says. You don't have to like his tweets. But as a conservative, right, as a libertarian, as a free market guy, I don't care about the individual. I want the policies. That's the way I look at things. And yet there's still, you got your Bill Kristols, you got others that are out there, Nichols and other folks that are out there that are still so diametrically opposed to this man. And you and I have spoken about this before. What about those diehard never-Trumpers? Even with everything that we've seen with the judicial nominees and the appointments and the economy and everything else, what do you think it would take to turn them towards Trump in 2020?
I think many of them, honestly, and I usually don't question the motives, but I think it's a meal ticket for a lot of people. High-profile people are being invited on MSNBC and CNN all the time, or having books lauded by places like the New York Times just because they oppose Trump. I think that does have something to do with it. And they've just dug in their heels so much because a lot of people on both sides, right and left, really like the swamp the way it is. They don't want things to change. The sweetheart deal that Biden's son got with Ukraine, well, this is how business has been done in the Beltway for many, many decades. And that affects Republicans as well as Democrats, who kind of want to keep things calm and keep things rolling because it's been very, very good for them and their friends. And he threatens that. He threatens people on both sides of that. And yeah, I will definitely criticize Trump when I think he makes a bad policy choice or something like that. But just this pretending that 2016 never happened, that Hillary would have been better, Hillary of all people, it's just ludicrous. They need to accept 2016 happened, right and left people. 2016 happened, and this is the new reality, and you need to adjust to it. Just constantly sniping from the sideline, I really don't see how that helps anybody.
Yeah. In our last few seconds here, folks could find you at ricochet.com. You're also on Twitter at xjon, EXJON. Fantastic feed. I use your information regularly to learn about what's going on, and I greatly appreciate everything that you're doing, John. In our last 30 seconds here, what happens November the 3rd or 4th, whatever the election date is, if Trump wins re-election? What do you expect to happen in the media and everywhere else?
Absolute pandemonium and meltdown. The problem is, like I said, they've been crying wolf so long. I don't know how you can ramp it up from what it has been. They need to accept defeat.
Yeah, they certainly do. Well, listen, I should be in Arizona soon. Go ASU, Daredevil. Is it Red Devils? No, I'm sorry. I should know this. My son's going to school there. Sun Devils. Go Sun Devils, and I should be down there, and hopefully we can connect again and have some coffee. I greatly appreciate you taking the time. Best of luck. Continue writing. You are a fantastic source of information. Everybody follow Jon Gabriel at ricochet.com and at xjon, and we'll have you on again soon. Greatly appreciate you taking the time, John.
Dave. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks. And
Thank
folks, don't go away, because when we come back, we got a lot more information coming up here for you. And welcome back to Real Side Radio. Dave Sussman sitting in the chair here for Joe Messina. We're live on Facebook at our website, realside.com. You can find us on 52 stations across the country on the GCN and Salem radio networks. And there is a chat room on the website where you can hang out on Facebook with your Facebook friends. Hey, Facebook folks, how are you tonight? And if you'd like to call in, you can call in to 855-732-5563. And I was at over the weekend, I was at this incredible rally. I got to speak, and I met so many incredible candidates that are running for Congress. And one guy that I've been following for quite some time is somebody that I really, really respect. His name is Joe Collins. He's running for Congressional District in California 43, who is Representative Maxine Waters' district. And we got him live. Joe, how are you?
I'm blessed. How are you?
I'm doing really well, Joe. So first of all, it was great meeting you the other day in Burbank. And tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for Congress.
So my name is I'm Joe Collins. I'm a United States Navy veteran, South Central Los Angeles native. And the reason why I'm running for Congress is because I feel like the people in the district deserve something better. I mean, they've had a congresswoman representing them who have done absolutely nothing for them and allowed our city to deteriorate, and it allowed our people to become in the condition that they're in right now. And so, we need people who are going to run for office, going to bring value back to the community and increase the quality of life for the people in the district.
Maxine Waters is probably one of the most divisive figures in politics today. And you heard my speech on Saturday. She's the head of the Financial Services Committee. 10 years ago, her and her husband were investigated, and she was found in violation of ethics. She basically got the government to fund her husband's bank during the financial crisis, and yet she is running strong, and she is head of the Financial Services Committee, and she hates this president. But I think from a local perspective, Joe, you're looking at a level of homelessness that has just gone through the roof, especially in your area. Talk a little bit about the disconnect that Maxine Waters has right now between Washington, D.C. and actually serving the people of your district.
When you talk about service to the people in the district, you mean actually her doing something for us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not doing that. And I think it's very hypocritical that she gets on TV 24/7 and talks about impeach Donald Trump and everything that he's doing that she doesn't like, when you can come to our district and you can see that she's probably one of the worst congressmen in office right now, because our district is pretty poor. It's terrible, and she doesn't live in the district, so she has no real connections with people in the district. And even when I go around and I talk to people and I say, "Hey, I'm running against Maxine Waters," they don't even ask me am I a Republican or a Democrat. The first thing they say is, "Well, her time is up."
Are you finding that people are just done with her? Are they sick and tired of her? Or is the fact that she's got a D next to her name and you'll have an R next to yours, that they just continue to vote down party line?
You know what? I think we're at a point in America where people are, it's not even about the party. It's about who's going to help the people in the district, who's going to bring value to the people in the district. So at this point in my district, a D and an R doesn't matter. It's okay. So we need help. We need help 30 years ago. That's the response that I've been getting. And so one thing that I've made a point to do, and as well as my campaign and anybody who I come in contact with, is to make sure that we're not campaigning based off promises. We're campaigning based off things that we're actually doing for the community as we speak. And we have a lot going on right now.
Let's talk a little bit about Los Angeles. You said that you grew up in South Central, and so obviously you're not a carpetbagger. You're not coming in from another district pretending to be born there or something like this. You actually live there. And what have you seen? I mean, listen, I'm old enough to remember the L.A. riots in 1992 very, very well. What are you seeing in your district right now? We got homeless encampments. We've got crime. We've got gangs. What's the feeling right now with everything?
That's basically what it is. You see, we have the Democratic policies that have taken over California for the last 20 years, and it's deteriorating our district. The jobs are leaving because of taxes. The people who own property here are leaving because of taxes, and we have an illegal immigration problem that's probably worse than any other state in the whole entire world. And so that's our reality out here. People want to leave, but the people who can't afford to leave, they need help. If they don't get help, everyone's going to be homeless.
Okay. What is your number one priority? You are elected to Congress January 20th or whatever it is that you guys are sworn in 2021. What is it that you do first? Well, the first thing that I do is continue the work that we've been doing right now. And that's bringing jobs back to our communities, that's providing quality education. Things that we're doing right now is what I want to continue to do. Like I told you before, I'm not like the other candidates who are running because they hate someone or who are running based off promises that they know they can't fulfill. We're actually working in the communities right now. We're connecting small business with resources. We're getting different programs like NASA and SpaceX into our high schools. And we're working with different organizations to find out solutions for this homeless problem that we have. Right. So what I want to do is continue the work that I'm doing right now. And one thing that I know is if this is something that I'm doing at a level that I am now, I'm not even in government, just wait till I actually get in government and I have a bigger influence and I have access to resources I can bring back to my city. President Trump gave Elijah Cummings $17 billion to rebuild his city. And you got to think,
What can we do in South Los Angeles with $17 billion? What type of economic growth can we have? What type of opportunities can we provide for the people in our district with $17 billion?
That's fantastic. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, but I want to bring you back, and I want to talk about the politics of the day, including impeachment. But where can folks find you and support you? Give everybody your website.
My website is joecollinsforcongress.com. That's the easiest and the fastest way to get a hold of me. My social media is on my website as well. So joecollinsforcongress.com. Go register to volunteer, support, donate. You can even send me an endorsement letter.
That's Joe Collins, FOR, Congress.com. Joe Collins, FOR, for Congress.com. And check him out. Give this guy all the help that you can across the country, because Maxine Waters, and we're going to talk a little bit about her after the break here, she is one of the most divisive members of Congress. Her entire thing since the day that President Trump won was impeach 45, impeach 45. He didn't have to do anything. She wanted impeachment right out of the gate, and we're going to be talking about that and what's going on right now after the break with Joe Collins and Dave Sussman here in the chair. Joe Messina. We're going to be right back at Real Side Radio. Don't go away, folks. And welcome back. Real Side Radio. Dave Sussman here in the chair. We're live on Facebook and our website, realside.com. There is a chat room on the website, folks. And I know there's a lot of conversation happening right now, and a lot of folks are out there, and they're wondering how they could support Joe Collins for Congress against Maxine Waters. Joe, welcome back, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good still. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. So, okay, I want to play a quick clip here. This is Maxine Waters yesterday on Surprise, MSNBC. I couldn't imagine her ever going on any other network, maybe CNN. And she's talking about Donald Trump, and she essentially said that he needs to not just be impeached, but he needs to go to jail. And when he goes to jail, he needs to be in solitary confinement.
You said, as you know and many of our viewers know, you speak your mind. Many people like that, and as I think you know, many people disagree with you. It's politics. That's right. I want to read something you said today to get a fuller understanding. You said, with regard to Donald Trump, he's using mob language. He's implying people should be killed for whistleblowing. Impeachment's not good enough for Trump. He needs to be imprisoned and placed in solitary confinement. But for now, impeachment is the imperative.
That's right.
I ask you tonight, are you speaking literally? And do you have any concern you're prejudging the House impeachment and Senate trial process by declaring he should be, I guess, convicted and held in solitary?
No, not really. As you said, I said impeachment is the imperative. I did express myself in ways to show how terrible I think he is and how he really should be punished. But, of course, impeachment is what we're focused on right now.
Okay, Joe. Do you think that she's representing the constituents of the 43rd District with this continual derangement about Trump? I mean, this is all I've heard of her for the past 2.5, 3 years. Is she representing the folks in the district with this?
Absolutely not. Even if you're not talking about impeachment, Maxine Waters isn't representing the constituents. She represents herself and her family, because those are the only people who she's doing something for. But impeach 45, I mean, come on. We have criminal justice reform. We have the First Step Act that directly impacts my district. We have opportunity zones that directly impacts my district. And these are things that President Trump has signed into law so we can rebuild the inner cities. So she's not representing anyone except for herself.
Some L.A. officials, according to the Los Angeles Times, want a state of emergency declared for the homeless crisis as it's getting worse. It's basically just horrific. If you're not in Los Angeles, folks, I know there's a lot of people here around the country. Every downtown, every blue city in America has a small area that there's homeless encampments called Skid Row in Los Angeles. It is so much worse now than it's ever been. It isn't just Skid Row, Joe. It has spread out for miles and miles and miles. What are you seeing in your areas of and the cities that you're representing? What is it? Compton, Watts? Which area specifically is it? Inglewood?
So we have Inglewood. We got South Central. We have Gardena, Hawthorne, Lomita, Del Air, Torrance. These are the cities that I represent, that I will be representing.
And then what are you seeing right now? Has this homeless crisis, the homelessness and crisis just is spread in those areas? I mean, is that what, because the Los Angeles Times is certainly reporting that.
Oh, yeah. It's been spreading. The homeless situation isn't new. It's been happening since 2008. And, of course, Los Angeles wants to call a state of emergency because they've been doing a terrible job at legislating. They raise all of this money and they give it to illegal immigrants for health care and housing, and they forget about the people who they're robbing the money from, which are the homeless people who are on the streets.
So let's talk about this from a big picture scenario. We've got a lot of money that has been provided, whether it's Los Angeles County, the state of California, or federal funds. What is the answer to this crisis, and why do you think it got so much worse? I guess it's a two-part question for you. Why did it get so much worse starting in 2008, and what do you think one of the answers could be here?
Well, what we have to do is once I get in office, we have to sue the state of California to get rid of the taxes. We have entirely too many taxes. Everything that you see has an expensive tax fee to it. I think we're going to start getting taxed for air pretty soon as well. So we have to sue the state of California in order to get us back in line with the federal Constitution. And the federal Constitution says that, point blank, you don't tax the citizens. I understand everybody has to pay their fair share, but you don't tax the citizens the amount that we're being taxed right now. So that's what we have to do. We have to bring quality jobs back in so people can afford to live in the housing that we have right now as well. So those are two major issues that we're going to have to tackle. So
they're talking about in Sacramento imposing rent control now across the board. And historically speaking, that has been a disaster for everybody. It inflates the market because you're basically shrinking. You're shrinking. Obviously the product that's out there, and in this case, it's pretty much just homes. So by shrinking the amount of supply, you're increasing the demand, which raises the prices for everything that is not in rent control. We've seen this in Santa Monica and other cities throughout California. That's their response, and everything that's coming out of Sacramento right now, it's so fiscally bankrupt. It's all done with good intentions. Right, but they don't seem to play the long game here. They don't seem to understand blue city governance, how it impacts the area, and it, as you just stated, it only raises taxes. So, as a member of Congress representing the 43rd district, your focus would be then what? Low taxes, going to the community and helping out how?
Yeah, exactly. We don't need taxes. No taxes. We have too much taxes, and what we have to do is we have to start getting away from these social programs that don't benefit the citizens of California. The citizens are paying the taxes, and the citizens are paying taxes to give illegal immigrants, medical insurance, illegal immigrants housing, all these illegal immigrant programs when illegal immigrants are taking all the jobs. And so that's an issue that we have to do something about. And rent control is bad not only for the renters but the property owners, because some property owners don't want rent control because it devalues their property that they spent their hard-earned money on. And so, yeah, it's a problem. We have to go into these communities and we have to get California back in line. But you know what? The Democrats have ran California down. And like you said, I've seen it with a lot of majority Democrat states and cities. It's ran down because they are so terrible with money. And I think the reason why is because every single Democrat that gets into office, they're poor before they get into office. They're poor, they have bad credit, they mismanage money. And so this is the issue. So if you have people who are known for mismanaging money, who have never had any type of financial savvy to their life, this is what happens.
Joe, you've got people listening to you all across the country. Nobody, I would assume, listening to this right now would like to see Maxine Waters win another term. So let them support you. Tell them where to go, what you need from them right now. I understand you're coming out of a fantastic quarter, but go. We've got about a minute left. Okay, go to my website, joecollinsforcongress.com, and donate.
Donate, donate, donate. That's important. Maxine Waters is entrenched, and she has tons of money. We did close out with a great quarter. We raised over $440,000 in 8 weeks, but we need your support so we can win.
And you have to remember, Maxine Waters has got millions. So, and her daughter, made $750,000 for just mailing out campaign, ads. So that's the kind of money that they have, that she can pay her daughter $750,000. So, folks, everybody, if you don't like the direction that Congress is taking and you want to replace Maxine Waters, I got to tell you, I meet a lot of candidates. I met a lot of candidates with you there. You're the real deal, Joe. And as a U.S. Navy veteran, as somebody that grew up in the community, you're talking to people, you're doing the hard work, you're doing the ground game, you're not taking people's money and living on it, you're putting it right into campaigning. And so we need you to win the primary and get, folks, everybody support. So again, the website.
And look, this is a very winnable district. I'm sorry, real quick. We have 750,000 people that live in the district, and Maxine Waters only wins with about 120 to 130,000 votes. So people are not coming out to vote because they never had anyone to vote for, but now they do. So it's very winnable. So don't think it's an entirely Democratic district. Do not think that Maxine Waters has a grip on the district, because she don't.
Yeah, it's time for California's 43rd Congressional District to be represented by somebody that has a good understanding of what it needs, a pro-Trump conservative. Folks, send 10, 25, whatever you can to help Joe Collins defeat liberal politicians Maxine Waters. Thank you so much, Joe, and we'll be right back after the break. Good luck to you, and God bless. Take care. And welcome back to America's Voice News. Dave Sussman here at Freedom Fest 2019, and we are backstage in the cavernous backstage of the Paris Hotel with Candace Owens. Candace, thanks for joining us, first of all.
Thank you. It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. So first of all, talk a little bit about what you're talking about today at the Libertarian Center of the Universe.
I've just been kind of talking about what I always speak about, which is just how a lot of these leftist arguments are harming the minority community, or at least their goals, what they're trying to accomplish, would directly impact the black community. We've been debating a lot of those topics, like open borders, which to me is probably up there among the most radical concept that I've heard introduced by them. And just trying to give a voice and connect with people to make them understand what we're actually up against and what we're fighting for in this country.
One of the things that we've talked about before, which I think is really important, is when you take a look at the numbers in the inner city community of single-parent households before the Great Society in the 1960s, and today you see a 300% increase in single-family households, especially in urban cities, black families. Are they getting the message? I know that you're talking a lot about Blexit, and you've been focused on that the last couple of years. What are you hearing back from the community?
They're definitely getting the message. I think I've spawned a lot of other Candace Owenses. If you're following online, you're seeing a lot more black conservative voices come to the forefront, using whatever means they have, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, having their own shows. It's been tremendous to see. And I think what it really took was just somebody going out there and saying it and taking all the bullets to make it okay to think differently, because we're not just thinking differently, we're thinking accurately, right? The truth is on our side. So our job, beyond being called a bunch of terrible things and being mischaracterized by the leftist media, is pretty easy. We just have to get the truth to our community, and then once you're awake, you don't go back to sleep.
Speaking about being awake, right now, everything in our politics is identity politics, and we're seeing this with the Ilhan Omars and the AOCs of the world. You think this is good for the Democratic Party, or is this really helping out the conservatives?
It's helping out the conservatives, 100%. They've overplayed their hand in every single regard. People are tired of it. People don't even have a reaction to the word racist anymore, and that's what happens when you call everyone and everything racist. And we're seeing that just in regards to the fact that despite them labeling everybody racist over the last 2 years, black support for Donald Trump has minimally doubled. Every poll acknowledges that it has gone up. So that means that their rhetoric isn't working, and yet they're just doubling and tripling down and quadrupling down in the very same metric. So I think it's great. More power to them. Keep calling everybody racist. It really worked in 2016 when you called half America racist. Go ahead and call 80% of America racist in 2020. Let me know how it works out.